A week later, Lin Ping was eating watermelon in his garden. Lin said the magical world is so amazing, and my hybrid fruit breeding method has been very successful. But without anyone to share it, the joy of the harvest always feels like it's missing something. In this world, there are various races including demons, warriors, and elves. Lin said, I originally thought that I was satisfied with peaceful farming. However, when I had everything and came into contact with the outside world, my heart began to grow restless, and I wanted to explore it. People are like this. They get one thing and want two. But Lin felt so weak that he decided to forget about it. Suddenly, a smoke emerged out of nowhere. It was Elizabeth. While drinking orange juice, she asked, "What's on your mind, Lin?" Lin replied, "I wanted to go out and see something, but forget it because I'm too weak." Elizabeth smiled and said, "So you're finally eager to leave this place?" She asked Lin to come with her for a trip. Elizabeth thought that the outside world was incomparable to Lin, but it looked like to Elizabeth that Lin's attitude was too arrogant. Lin got really excited and asked Elizabeth if it's really okay with her. Lin thought it's a different story. "If I have the protection of the Demon Queen." Elizabeth responded with an attitude, "Stop talking nonsense, change your clothes." After changing their clothes, Elizabeth complimented Lin on his cooking and sewing skills, saying that they were very impressive. Lin replied, "These are my specialties." The robot dog also wanted to go with them. Elizabeth twisted his finger, and a magical door appeared in front of them. Elizabeth explained that they would use this transfer door to reach the nearest town. Lin was really surprised by Elizabeth's skills. As Elizabeth walked toward the gate, Lin asked him a few questions. Lin Ping said that after they go out, Elizabeth shouldn't leave him alone no matter what. He also emphasized that Elizabeth had to keep her emotions stable and act low-key. Lin just requested to her. But it looks to Elizabeth that Lin is giving her a warning. Without Lin's permission, Elizabeth couldn't leave and she can't use magic recklessly, as it would ruin the fun of experiencing ordinary people. Elizabeth was really angry with Lin, but she managed to control her anger and told Lin that she understood. Lin asked Elizabeth that, after seeing the changes outside, will she come back with him? Lin was concerned that without the protection barrier of the novice village, he would become the food of the demon beasts in minutes. Elizabeth replied, "Of course." She thought that until I've officially defeated you, the evil hero, the outside world means nothing to me. Lin was really happy, but Elizabeth added that he had to agree to one request from her. Lin felt nervous and didn't know what request Elizabeth had in mind. Elizabeth came close to Lin and said, "When we return, I want you to make me a super deluxe assorted fruit pudding." Lin was shocked and thought, "Just pudding?" Elizabeth asked if there was a problem. Lin assured Elizabeth that he didn't have any problem with making pudding for her when they returned. He said, "Let's go." The robot dog was left behind and felt really sad. After traveling through the portal gate, Lin Ping was pleasantly surprised to see a beautiful city after so long. The city is named Boaster Town, where humans and monsters coexist without any problems. After seeing this, Lin Ping exclaimed, "This place is amazing. It's like stepping into another world." Elizabeth also observed the city after a long time. Lin asked Elizabeth to check out an equipment shop. He noticed they were selling ingredients, but he wondered, "Isn't this just regular pork?" Lin Ping was genuinely excited about visiting the outside world after a long time. Elizabeth remarked, 500 years have passed and the changes in the outside world don't seem that significant. Lin Ping agreed, adding, "It doesn't seem as chaotic as Uncle Bess said." Elizabeth smiled and explained, "That's because I established a strong foundation during my rule. In the original world, various forces were in conflict, and the situation was chaotic. Elizabeth used her absolute strength to suppress them all and establish a set of rules where everyone is equal. So, the one who really saved the world was Elizabeth, not Lin, the so-called legendary hero." Elizabeth was really angry because Lin escaped without hearing her words. She said, "Lin is nonsense. He didn't even acknowledge my past achievements." Lin visited a small stall where a little girl was selling cute bunny dolls. After closely examining the bunny dolls, Lin commented, "So delicate, the stitching details are very well done." He asked the little girl if she made them, and the little girl replied that she was the one who made these dolls. She asked Lin if he liked them, she could offer them to him at a lower price. Suddenly a voice came out from nowhere and exclaimed, "Who gave you permission to set up a stall here? He's Demon Pig." Demon Pig kicked over the little girl's stall and seized her hand, proclaiming, Her church owes their gang protection money and hasn't paid it yet. How dare she set up a stall in their place? Annie's younger siblings were scared and pleaded with Demon Pig to spare their sister. Demon Pig lifted the little girl into the air. She defiantly retorted, "You never protected us. Why should we pay you protection money?" Demon Pig laughed and responded, "You're an idiot. Since last month, this street has fallen under the territory of our beast gang. If you want to survive here, you must provide monthly tributes." However, the little girl remained unconvinced and boldly declared, "That's not true. The church belongs to the nun. When the nun comes back, you'll be in trouble." Demon Pig scoffed, saying, "You're clueless. You don't understand the situation at all, do you? Fine. I'll drive you orphans away today and tear down that broken church." Lin Ping watched everything unfold from the sidelines, growing increasingly angry. He implored Demon Pig to stop. Demon Pig, with cold eyes, retorted, "What the hell do you want to do?" Lin was really scared, not knowing what to say. Elizabeth stood by, pondering. Does Lin Ping want to toy with these ordinary people again? Lin then asked Elizabeth for help in this situation, but Elizabeth turned her head away and told Lin that she didn't want to help. Lin should solve his own problem. Demon Pig grew increasingly angry with Lin Ping and asked about his intentions. Lin Ping was genuinely scared, feeling helpless, as Elizabeth offered no assistance. Suddenly, he had a great idea and shouted, "Everyone, this pig-headed man is bullying a little girl. Come and condemn him." However, everyone ignored Lin Ping and did not want to get involved in the matter. Demon Pig laughed and remarked, "You don't really think anyone will come out to help you, do you? Everyone on this street knows our beast gang." Demon Pig looked at Lin and remarked, "Look at your clothes. You're a foreigner from the south, right? The girl next to you isn't bad." Lin suggested, "Let's talk things over. I have some local specialties in my backpack. I can share them with all of you." However, Demon Pig declined and ordered his men to beat up Lin and take the woman back to their gang to lock her up. Elizabeth became really angry and asked Demon Pig, "Do you really think anyone is qualified to imprison me? You've really stepped on the tiger's tail." Suddenly the weather changed and lightning appeared in the sky, frightening everyone. They all gazed at the sky in confusion, and Demon Pig's whole body shook. He asked, "Why did the weather suddenly change like that?" As everyone continued to watch the sky, Lin urged Elizabeth not to take any drastic action, emphasizing that it might destroy the whole town. He asked Elizabeth to calm down and explained that they should just scare them. She wouldn't actually fight ordinary people like this, would she? Elizabeth assured Lin that she would spare them this time because of Lin's request. The little girl noticed Elizabeth's powerful magic and thought, "That sister's magic is so powerful." The sky returned to normal, and the rain began. Demon Pig remained bewildered by what had just occurred. Demon Pig's body is shaking with fear. He questions Elizabeth and Lin about their reasons for supporting the church orphans. He's perplexed by a sudden sense of nervousness when facing them. Lin, realizing negotiations might not work, proposes a deal to Demon Pig. He suggests paying for protection, asking how much money Demon Pig wants. Demon Pig, eager for an opportunity, nervously quotes 10 gold coins for 2 months. Elizabeth, also hearing their conversation from the sidelines, laughs and says, "A mere 10 gold coins, making a big fuss. Utterly foolish." Lin gets really surprised. He comes close to Elizabeth and asks, "By the way, Elizabeth, you must have a lot of gold coins, right?" Elizabeth gets really happy after Lin praises him. He says she has so many treasures that she can't count them all. After hearing this, Lin gets really surprised. He said, "Elizabeth, how about lending me some? I'll sell the vegetables from my home and pay you back later." However, Elizabeth is not happy with Lin Ping's idea. She doesn't want him to sell his precious vegetables for just mere 10 gold coins. She says Lin Ping is an idiot, asking to use his food to exchange for those useless things. That won't do. Besides, she didn't bring any gold coins when she came to find Lin. After hearing that, Lin hits his head on the ground, getting really surprised. He doesn't know what's going to happen to him. Demon Pig asks Lin and Elizabeth if they're going to pay the money or not. Lin is really nervous. He scratches his head with his hand and says he doesn't have any gold coins. He asks if he can use the local products in his bag to make up for it. Demon Pig gets really angry. He asks Lin and Elizabeth that if they are playing with him, he won't listen to their nonsense anymore. He orders his men to kill Lin Ping and capture Elizabeth. Suddenly, a pouch filled with gold coins comes out of nowhere and hits Demon Pig in the face. Demon Pig is really angry. He asks who threw this bag on my face and threatens to kill them. However, he notices something shiny in the pouch. After closely looking at the pouch, he sees it's filled with gold coins and gets really surprised. Then we see a man. His half body is human and the other half is a horse. He asks Demon Pig to stop harassing his friend and leave as soon as he gets the money. His name is Hawthorne Therius. After seeing him, Demon Pig says it turns out he's from the Sword Saint Guild, Thunder Sea Buckthorn. After realizing that he is a really powerful and famous adventurer, Demon Pig says he will give him some face. After getting the money, Demon Pig says to his men to, "Let's go." But before he goes, he gives a warning to the little girl that she won't be this lucky next month. After Demon Pig leaves, Lin Ping helps the little girl. The little girl thanks Lin Ping for helping her in this situation when no one else wanted to. Lin Ping is really happy. After seeing that she is okay, Lin Ping also thanks the adventurer for helping them and offers some fruits. With a humble smile, Thunder said, "You don't need to worry, it's a trivial matter." He turns to Elizabeth and says, "If you're willing, I'd like you to partner with me on something." The little girl adjusts his glasses and asks, "What do you mean, partner? What can we help you with?" He says with a suspicious smile, "Let's go somewhere else to talk. If this works out, I think it can also solve your financial problems." Elizabeth folds his hands and says that she is not interested, asking Lin to go. Lin begs Elizabeth not to leave, emphasizing that he just helped them out. "Let's at least see what they have to say." "Hey, little girl, younger siblings," asks her sister Annie. "Are you going out?" They are worried about their sister because if she gets in trouble again. Little girl Annie assures them that they don't have to worry, she will be safe. She asks them to go back to the church first, she'll be back soon. When they are about to enter the pub, Horseman said, "Once you enter the tavern, stay close to him. You don't know what will happen." When they enter the pub, everyone stares at Elizabeth and Lin Ping. One of the men asks Elizabeth, "Hey babe, the men around you look like trash. Want to come over here instead?" Lin and little girl know that if they do this, Elizabeth will kill everyone here. After hearing this, Elizabeth's eyes are glowing red. She is really angry and releases his killing intent, asking that man to say that again. After seeing Elizabeth's killing intent, the man who commented on Elizabeth gets really scared. Their whole bodies are shaking with fear. Elizabeth turns her head to Lin and says that it's all his fault for insisting on coming to this lousy place and wasting her time. Elizabeth is really angry at Lin. Lin is nervous and said to Elizabeth that they're already here, so why don't they go in? Horseman asks them to go into the private room. There won't be any outsiders to bother them. Horseman opens the door and said, "I am back." Then we see a bunch of cute girls surrounding the Horseman. They say, "Master, you're finally back. We were so worried about you. We wanted to go out and look for you. Please take us with you next time." Horseman turns his head to Lin and says that he forgot to mention he has a few wives here too. After seeing this, Lin gets really surprised. He doesn't have any words to say. He asks him, "You have 4 wives. Horseman starts pouring tea for everyone and introduced his wives to them. First of all, this one next to me is Gusha. Her profession is a shield warrior. Then there's the assassin Lolo, and there's Glee, a mage. And lastly, there's Galia. She's an amazing elven archer." After seeing someone from the elf race, he says he met a girl with elf bloodline a while ago. Elizabeth asks Horseman to stop with the small talk. It's a waste of time. They need to leave. One of the girls says to Horseman about Elizabeth, "What's the deal with this woman? Her attitude is really annoying." Elizabeth is really angry. She says this is how this queen is. "Do you have any opinions?" The cat girl said it's really funny she even calls herself a queen. She asks her master if this woman's brain is okay. The elf girl looks at Elizabeth and said, after looking at the shape of her ears, she's probably a lowly half-breed with a bit of elven blood. What's she doing in front of me? After hearing this, Elizabeth gets really angry. He said to the elf girl that, if she insists on bringing destruction upon herself, then don't blame this queen. If he gets killed, after hearing this, Lin Ping knows that if he doesn't claim Elizabeth, there will be a disaster. Lin gets the pudding from his bag and gives it to Elizabeth. When Elizabeth saw the pudding in Lin's hands, his anger is gone, and he gets really happy. After seeing Elizabeth's happy face, Lin feels relieved and said, "Luckily I was prepared." After Elizabeth gets claimed, Lin Ping starts his conversation with the horseman. He said, Actually, we come from a very distant and nameless tribe to travel here. Elizabeth is the princess of that tribe, and I am her servant, Lin Ping. After hearing Lin Ping's words, the cat girl says, "No wonder her behavior and manners are so strange. She is a tribal princess who has never seen the world." Another girl also comments, "Her name is Elizabeth, right? She's from that uncivilized tribe that worships the demon queen in the demon realm, huh? That's why her behavior is rude and she is uncivilized." Lin puts his finger on his lips and asks for silence. He also explains that it's Elizabeth's first time out, and she's still adapting to the cultural differences. Lin Ping thinks this explanation should make sense, hoping they won't ask any more questions about Elizabeth. The horseman claims everyone and asks them to get back to business. He expresses his desire to invite Elizabeth and Lin to join his team in exploring a dungeon for treasure. However, the horseman is uncertain about the terrifying demonic power emanating from Elizabeth earlier, wondering if she might be from the demon race. Lin then asks the horseman about the treasure dungeon, seeking a more detailed explanation. He also turns to the little girl Annie, asking if she knows what a treasure dungeon is. Annie answers Lin's question and explains that treasure dungeons are said to be magical spaces set up by ancient, powerful beings to hide valuable things. These dungeons are usually well hidden and very dangerous places. After hearing Annie's explanation, Lin gets an idea of what the treasure dungeons look like. The horseman mentions that he also spent a lot of effort to get news of this treasure dungeon. However, the condition to open the barrier is that the number of people has to reach 8. If there aren't enough people, they can't enter the dungeon. Lin said, "Oh, that's why you were looking for us to make up the numbers." Little girl Annie starts counting to see how many people they are. After she finishes, she starts crying because she is the 8th member of this party. She asks the horseman with a crying face if she cannot go with them. Lu is really confused after seeing Annie. He asks her, "What's wrong? Treasure dungeons seem to be precious. Shouldn't he be happy to go?" Elizabeth doesn't pay any attention to them. She is eating her pudding without any worry. Little girl Annie turns her head to Lin's side and says, "Brother Lin, you don't know. Treasure dungeons are usually very difficult, and she is just a mere 4-star magician. If she goes, she will probably die." Li scratches his head and tells Annie that he doesn't know much about magic levels in this world. The horseman reassures Lin, saying they just needs to help him meet the number of people condition. The battle inside will be left to them. The treasure he'll get in the end will not be less than theirs, estimating at least a few tens of thousands of gold coins. One of the horseman's wives mentions that their master single-handedly repelled several dark apostles who wanted to take Gilead a few days ago, demonstrating his strength. Little girl Annie gets really happy hearing this, realizing they can get tens of thousands of gold coins from the dungeon. With that amount of money, they can solve the church's financial problems without any issues. Lin asks Elizabeth to help them make up the numbers to solve their financial problems. Elizabeth, while eating her pudding, doesn't pay attention to Lin's words and says, "Fine, I don't have any problem. Please don't bother the queen from enjoying the delicious pudding." After convincing them, the horseman asks one of his wives to get the crystal ball. She takes the crystal ball from his bag and places it on the table. Lin is really surprised after seeing this crystal ball, not knowing its purpose. The horseman explains that he will show Li Ping how to use it. Placing his hand on the crystal ball, a bright light comes out, and he says it's Glee's magic measurements crystal ball. Putting their hand on it will measure their magic level. He takes his hand off the crystal ball, and his magic level shows on the crystal ball, registering at 8,769. After seeing this, Lin and little girl Annie are surprised. Lin asks if this is Glee's magic measurements crystal ball, and they just need to put their hand on it to measure their magic level. It turns out to be a crystal ball that visualizes magic levels into numbers, and 8,769 should be at the demon spirit level. The horseman also reveals that his magic level is at 4-star demon spirit, and his wives are all 4 or 5-star grand mages. Since they are going to team up, they should know each other well and cooperate better. After hearing the horseman's words, little girl Annie places her hand on the crystal ball, and it shows Annie's magic level, which is 300. One of the horseman's wives remarks that she had more than Annie's value when she first changed her job. Annie is really disappointed, hearing cruel words from the horseman's wife, and starts crying. She apologizes to the horseman's wife, saying that her magic level just won't go up, she's just an average girl. On the other hand, Lin gets really excited after seeing the magic crystal demo. He says, "Let me try it too," knowing that he hasn't learned magic in these years, but as the legendary hero, His potential shouldn't be low either. With full excitement, Leping places his hand on the magic crystal. However, there is no immediate reaction from the crystal ball. Suddenly, a number shows on the crystal ball, indicating that Lin's magic level is 0. After seeing that, the horseman gets really confused. He doesn't know what happened. He has never seen something like that before. He says that even a pure martial arts user wouldn't have a magic level of 0. Lin places his hand on his forehead and explains that someone like him, who has been farming all his life, wouldn't have magic. He sits down on his chair and whispers that he's doomed to have no magic in this life because he never learned more about magic and swordsmanship. He has just been doing farming work all the time. The cat girl is really disappointed after seeing Lin's magic level. She asks him what he can do, stating that he seems to be of no help at all, just a dead weight to the team. After hearing these harsh words, Lin responds that he is good at something, farming. He mentions that he recently harvested some fruit they can try. The horsemen's wives express their disappointment, making fun of Lin. One of the girls comments that he's a typical bumpkin from a remote area and suggests keeping the fruit for themselves. They don't think they need him. The cat girl wonders if Lin is really just an ordinary servant because he doesn't look like one. The horseman calms everyone down and said, "Princess Elizabeth, you should also try it. Everyone wants to know what your magic level is." However, Elizabeth doesn't listen to the horseman's words. Lin convinces Elizabeth to cooperate with them. Upon hearing this, Elizabeth gets annoyed and says they want the queen to accompany them to play with these ignorant mortals. She places her hand on the crystal ball, and suddenly, a bright light comes out of the crystal ball, becoming so intense that no one can see what's happening. Everyone closes their eyes due to the intense light.